Right, guys. So in this session, then we're going to be looking at nutrition. So nice and simple. It's quite basic when we talk about nutrition as part of the level 2 fitness instructor qualification. We don't go into a whole lot of detail on it. So we'll be covering things like the digestive system. We'll be looking the basics behind carbohydrates, fats, and proteins as energy sources. Looking at hydration, and then looking at a little bit of weight management. Um, so first of all, introduction to a balanced diet. So food and drink, central to life. We can't survive without it. So the quantity and quality of food and drink consumed can have an enormous influence on the body weight, on complexion, concentration levels, energy levels, and mood. And it can also dramatically influence the risk of developing many diseases such as coronary heart disease, obesity, cancer, and diabetes, and help in the treatment and recovery from other illnesses. Okay, so recommendations for a healthy diet. We look to the Food Standards Agency to get our guidelines, and they relate mainly to the Eat Well plate. The Eat Well plate is a visual representation of how different foods contribute towards a healthy, balanced diet. So the size of the segments for each of the food groups is consistent with government recommendations for a diet that would provide all the nutrients required for a healthy adult or child over the age of 2. So the Eat Well plate is based on 5 food groups. First of all, we've got our bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, and other starchy foods, fruit and vegetables, milk and dairy foods, meat, fish, eggs, beans, and other non-dairy sources of protein, and foods and drinks high in fat and or sugar. So you'll notice with these 5 groups, it doesn't break them down into carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, or minerals. It breaks them down, as we can see here. First of all, we're looking at specifically starchy carbohydrates. So bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, and starchy carbohydrates. Fruit and vegetables are covered in one section itself. Milk and dairy foods, which would be sources of protein, but then we've also got another section which includes our main sources of protein, so meat, fish, eggs, and beans. Milk and dairy foods would kind of cross over between fats and proteins. And then our last section is the foods and drinks high in fat and or sugar. So that is the group that we can live without. So we don't just kind of, when we say a balanced diet, it's not necessarily that you eat that we kind of balance our plate like carbohydrates. We've got a certain we do have to have a certain amount, but we balance our eat well plate in a different way. So as we can see on the plate here, we need to base our meals around starchy carbohydrates and fruit and veg. So with both of these, we can see they're very similar size sections and make up the majority of the plate size. Meat, fish, eggs, and beans. So your protein sources, so non-dairy protein sources, and milk and dairy foods are a similar size. And as I said, the foods and drinks high in fat and or sugar is the section that you can live without. So the body needs fuel to provide energy for all organs and cells to be able to do their job. So fuels provided in the form of the following macronutrients. So what do we think are the main sources of fuel? Back to when we looked at energy systems.
Carbs and fats.
Yeah, so carbohydrates, fats, and protein will also kick in as an energy source when your carbohydrate and fat sources are depleted. So carbohydrates and fats are the main source. So when we looked at our energy systems, we can see that fats would be the main source at lower intensity exercise. Carbohydrates are the main source at a higher intensity exercise, and proteins will only kick in as a source of fuel when carbohydrate and fat stores have depleted. Carbohydrates in the food we eat come in 3 different forms. We've got simple, complex, and fiber. So our simple carbohydrates are our sugar-based carbohydrates. So some examples on the right-hand side: fruit, fruit juice, dried fruits, table sugar, honey, jams, and confectionery. Complex carbohydrates are our starchy carbohydrates. So these include bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, vegetables, cereals, grains, and beans. Now, fiber is the indigestible part of starch, which helps to keep the digestive system healthy. So fiber won't give you energy, but it's vital to help with a healthy gut function. And we'll get that from fruits, vegetables, whole grains and cereals, and beans. Moving on to dietary fats. So these are complex organic substances that are not soluble in water. Two basic types of fats. We've got saturated and unsaturated fats. And our unsaturated fats can be broken down into monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. So when we look at the examples here, when we look at the descriptions of each of the types of fats, saturated fats are technically solid at room temperature, and unsaturated fats will be technically liquid at room temperature. Now, as you can see in the examples, we do have some oil-based saturated fats, and some more solid fats in unsaturated. But the general rule is that saturated fats would be solid at room temperature, and unsaturated fats will be liquid at room temperature. So saturated fats mostly found in animal sources, but also present in select plant sources, and they are important for the body's cells and the nervous system. Now, saturated fats would also be classed as bad fats. So they would be the most unhealthy of fats, but we do have to have a certain amount of them in our diet because of the reasons said. So important for the body cells and the nervous system. So within the nervous system, we've got what's called the myelin sheath, and this surrounds the axon, which basically helps with nervous system transmission. So basically sending messages from peripheral nervous system to central nervous system and back out to peripheral nervous system. So we do have to have a certain amount of saturated fats in our diet. And as we can see on the right-hand side, some examples of those. Monounsaturated fats found in animal and plant sources and help to protect from heart disease. So again, really important type of fat in our diet. So we get it from different meats, olive oil, peanut oil, and avocado. Polyunsaturated fats found in fish and plant sources, important for cells and proper brain function. So we think about our omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, omega-6 fats, will come from our polyunsaturated fat sources, such as oily fish, sunflower oil, sunflower seeds, and flax seeds. Into our protein sources. So proteins are made up of amino acids, so building blocks of amino acids. There's 20 amino acids, which the body uses to make proteins, to make the proteins that it requires. So we've obviously got animal sources of protein and some plant sources of protein. Now, the animal sources is the best source of protein that's out there, because they contain plenty of amino acids, and some examples would be poultry, dairy produce, fish, eggs, and meat. Plant sources are a poorer source of protein, containing fewer amino acids and in smaller amounts. Grains, nuts, cereals, and beans would be examples of where we could find these. Now, more recently, we're hearing a lot more about vegan diets and vegetarian diets. So in the past, they would struggle to find sources of protein that contained or were able to generate all 20 sources, all 20 amino acids. But more recently, there's become a lot more options available, to be able to get more options when it comes to protein sources for vegan and vegetarian diets. Okay, so looking then into vitamins and minerals. So both vitamins and minerals are vital for normal growth, repair, and daily functioning of the body. And we've got some examples below. So food sources, we've got plant sources of vitamins and minerals. So nuts, fruit and vegetables, whole grains and cereals. So making sure that we've got a variety of color will ensure a good range of nutrients. So when you look at your plate, have you got a variety of color when it comes to fruit and vegetables on it, or throughout the day? When you think about the fruit and veg that you've eaten, is there a variety of color there, which will basically cover a lot of the different vitamins and minerals that sources that we can get. Our animal sources, meat, eggs, and dairy produce, so provide fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, vitamins B6, B12, and folic acid, and also zinc, iron, and calcium. So deficiencies in vitamins and minerals can lead to anemia, reduced bone mineral density, osteoporosis, digestive disorders such as constipation and diarrhea, reduced muscle mass, weight loss or gain, and deficiencies in essential fatty acids. So it's important that we get a good range of vitamins and minerals from a variety of sources for those reasons. Any questions so far?
No, that's all good, mate.
So as you can see, we're only kind of skimming the surface when it comes to nutrition here. If you move on to level 3, there's a whole unit on nutrition, and you have to do an exam on nutrition for level 3 PT. So we obviously go into a lot more detail on it as part of level 3. Okay, hydration. So function of water. So main functions of water is the formation and maintenance of blood plasma, the effective passage of substances in and out of cells, and it enables life-sustaining reactions to occur within the body. So the amount of water required will depend on varying factors: the environmental temperature, body temperature, humidity, physical activity, and respiration rate. So thinking about when you're training your clients, number one, the reasons why we need water above, but then when we're training our clients, think about how hot is it in the place that you're training. What's their current body temperature like? Have they just walked in from the cold, or is it quite hot outside? What's the humidity level like? What physical activity are they going to be participating in, or are they participating in? And their respiration rate. So is their breathing rate up quite high? Are they going to require more water breaks throughout this session compared to the session that they did last week? So an inactive person needs to drink about 6 glasses of fluid a day. A sports person or active trainer would need to drink much more, up to 4 or 5 liters per day, more in hot environments. If you lose too much water from the body and it's not replaced, the building of body tissues, temperature regulation, and metabolic rate are all affected. The resulting dehydration can lead to fatigue, headaches, lack of concentration, and constipation. A loss of only 10% of your normal bodily requirements can result in severe dehydration that may be fatal. It's quite a bold stat there, that 10% of your normal body requirements can actually result to severe dehydration that may be fatal. Okay, so how to monitor water loss. So one way is that we can track our body weight before and after exercise. So we can see how much water is lost during the exercise session. So you would weigh before the session, don't drink any water through the session, which is not recommended, and then weigh again at the end of the session. So 1 liter of water weighs 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds. So we could look to see what the reduction in weight is between the start of the session and the end of the session and see how much water is lost. Now, as I said, that is not recommended to do with any of the clients because of the risks that I mentioned before. We would always encourage people to drink throughout the session to stay hydrated, but it is one way that you can monitor weight loss. Urine color is probably the best way, and that is where we see a clear color indicates adequate hydration. A yellow to brownish color indicates a degree of dehydration, and the darker the color, the more severe the dehydration. Okay, so this slide is probably the most important slide on this presentation, because this is the advice and guidance we can give to our clients, plus a few questions on the exam paper can come up on this slide. So choosing a variety of foods from within each group will add to the range of nutrients you consume. Foods in the Eat Well Plate Guide 5th group, foods and drinks high in fat and or sugar, are not essential to a healthy diet. So base your meals on starchy foods. So basing your meals on starchy carbohydrates. Eat lots of fruit and vegetables, minimum of 5 portions a day. Eat more fish, and the recommended amount is 2 portions a week, and one of those portions to be an oily fish. Cut down on saturated fat and sugar. Try to eat less salt, no more than 6 grams a day. Get active and try to be a healthy weight. Drink plenty of water, minimum 6 to 8 glasses per day, and don't skip breakfast. Those are the kind of some of the basic healthy eating advice and healthy eating guidelines that we can give to our clients straight away. Okay, so just a bit of a recap on this. So carbohydrates, main function is energy production, and they're split into complex and simple carbohydrates. Our fats, main function is insulation, protection, vitamin transport, and energy production, and we split them into saturated and unsaturated fats. Proteins' main function is tissue growth and repair, oxygen transport, cell function, and fighting disease, and it is an energy source when your carbohydrates and fats have depleted. Vitamins and minerals are multifunctional with major health benefits, and fiber aids digestion. Water, hydration helping with temperature regulation, the basis to form blood plasma, and transporting vitamins, minerals, etc. inside and outside of the cells. Okay, going to move on to energy balance and weight management next. Has anybody got any questions before we move on?
Not any currently.
Okay, so energy balance equation and weight management. Anybody tell me what the energy balance equation states?
Not sure here.
Okay, so the energy balance equation states that body weight will remain the same when calorific intake equals calorific expenditure. So if you take in, if you burn off the same amount of calories that you take in, your body weight will stay the same. Excess energy is stored as fat weight. So if you take in too many calories and you're not burning them all off, it will be stored as fat weight. So body weight will increase. The key to losing fat weight is to create an imbalance between energy expenditure and energy intake. So if energy in is greater than energy out, you get weight gain. So what that means is if the amount of calories taken in is higher than the amount of calories burnt off, you will gain weight. If energy in is less than energy out, you will get weight loss. So if the amount of energy taken in is less than the amount of calories that you're burning off, you will lose weight. And then when energy in is equal to energy out, you will get weight maintenance, stay the same. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So nice and simple. If you've got a weight loss client, basically we need to cause an imbalance between energy expenditure and energy intake. So we're looking for the middle one, energy in less than energy out. We get weight loss. It's as simple as that. So a deficit of 3,500 calories is required to lose 1 pound of stored fat. Best achieved through a combination of increased physical activity and a slight reduction in daily consumption of calories. So by burning off more fat and reducing a small number of the calories that you're taking in will help you to create that imbalance. Regardless of the actual amount of calories necessary to sustain our basic daily body functioning and activity levels, we should all consume a balanced diet, including all food groups. So what this is saying is that we should look, if somebody wants to lose weight, we're looking to create that energy imbalance. And to do that, we can do it through a combination of increasing our activity levels and reducing the amount of calories that we consume. But when we look at reducing the amount of calories we consume, we should always aim to balance our diet by ensuring that we base our meals around starchy carbohydrates and fruit and vegetables. We have adequate amount of proteins and adequate amount of fats in our diet. We can leave out the section that has got high in fat and sugar. Okay, so energy metabolism and energy balance. So the range of internal activities that take place in our bodies is known as metabolism, and the amount of energy that is required at rest to drive metabolism is known as our basal metabolic rate. The basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories that we require just to function at rest. So for our digestive system to work, for our hormonal system, our endocrine system to work, our nervous system, for brain function, for everything that goes on within our bodies, we need a certain amount of calories to be able to function. So it's basically for you to get up in the morning, go and sit on the couch all day, and then go back to bed at night. You need a certain amount of energy to be able to do that. And that is called your basal metabolic rate. So it's measured in calories, and it will be different for each individual as it depends on body weight and body composition. The specifics of the National Food Model provide the following targets. So in general, so in average, males require about 2,500 calories per day, and females require about 2,000 calories per day. Moving on then to our recommended allowances. The total amount of calories should be divided across each of the macronutrients to achieve the following ratios. So 50% of those calories need to come from carbohydrates. 35%, so a maximum of 35% of those calories come from fats. A minimum of 55 grams of protein per day. So that's between 9 and 12% of the calories. So the different macronutrients contain calories and usable energy. The values vary slightly, but are usually referred to in the following approximate figures. Carbohydrates, 4 calories per gram. Now what that means is for every gram of carbohydrates, that will be 4 calories. The same for proteins. So for every gram of protein that we take in, it's 4 calories. For fats, every gram of fat that we take in, it's 9 calories. And then alcohol, which is not a nutrient, for every gram of alcohol we take in, it's 7 calories. There's also a portion guide on page 178 of the Unit 4 manual. And this will show you what one portion of cheese is, what one portion of blueberries is. So different foods, and just give you, okay, so this is what one portion equates to. So for example, we say 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. You know, what is one portion? So take some time to take a look at that page. If we've got poor nutrition, there are many health risks associated with it. For example, overweight, obesity, or underweight. Medical health issues that can include hypertension, coronary heart disease, bone and joint disorders, diabetes, some forms of cancer. And then we've also got the mental, emotional, and social health issues. So if you remember, we spoke earlier about how we can look at our mental health when it comes to physical activity, but also when we look at our nutrition, the effect that our nutrition will have on our mental, emotional, and social health issues. So having a poor diet, it can tend to affect you emotionally and mentally and bring you kind of down. Whereas if your health is, if your nutrition is quite good, it will increase your physical health and then also increase your mental and emotional health. Professional boundaries and nutritional advice. So as fitness instructors, we're limited in providing information to clients without further training. We stick to the to the guidelines as per the Food Standards Agency and the Eat Well plate. So if you're looking for further advice and guidance to give to your clients, we can refer them to the Food Standards Agency, or we can go to the Food Standards Agency and gather information from there. Our other option is to seek professional expert advice by referring our clients to a registered dietitian or nutritionist. But we can also pursue additional nutrition-specific personal qualifications. So as you go on to your level 3 PT, you'll obviously get more information and guidance and further qualification on nutrition there. But there are obviously other areas that you can go down, different courses for nutrition. And that is the final section on principles of exercise nutrition. Any questions?
I don't think so. I think it's all good. It's covered all of it.
Yeah, as I said, it's very basic when it comes to nutrition here. It's just about giving that simple advice and guidance to our clients, what carbohydrates do, what proteins do, what fats do, and then it's the general healthy eating advice and guidance are the main things that we would be speaking to our clients about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.